At approximately 11:45 this afternoon, the governments of Indonesia and Australia signed an agreement on maintaining security. The agreement would be a very beneficial agreement for both Indonesia and Australia. What is stipulated in the agreement and why in the security fields? Joining us are the Minister of the Republic of Indonesia, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Ali Alatas, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Australia, Mr. Gareth Evans. Minister Ali Alatas, it's quite surprising that some people are asking why in the security field?
Well, it should not be so surprising. Between Indonesia and Australia now, over the years, there has developed a lot of cooperation in many fields. In the economic field, in the political field, in the cultural field. And now we have added another aspect, and that is an agreement in the security field. Security in the wide sense of the word. And I think this completes and this complements the increasingly wide range of relationship between our two neighboring countries. And it's a natural development also because in a way this agreement formalizes and institutionalizes something that has been happening now for several years, cooperation in the security field, in the way of exchange of students, in the way of joint exercises, in the way of visits back and forth between the two sides, and now increasingly also in ways in which we are looking into of cooperation in other fields like in the defense industry and so on. So it's quite a natural development.
So you don't want to call it a pact, but simply an agreement.
It is an agreement, not because we don't want to call it a pact, because it is not a pact. It's not a defense pact, neither is it a defense alliance. It is an agreement on how to maintain security in the broad sense of the word. We share a common security environment, and we share common perceptions on that security environment. We want to obtain the same purposes and objectives. And above all, this is an agreement that I think states the fact that we trust each other, we want to cooperate with one another from now on, and we do acknowledge shared interests in keeping our environment peaceful from all kinds of possible adverse challenges.
Okay. Your Excellency, in Article 2, it says that the parties agree to promote their common security interests and, if appropriate, consider measures which might be taken either individually or jointly and in accordance with the processes of each party. What does it actually mean?
What it means is that if some kind of adverse challenge situation arises, either as a result of instability, disequilibrium among major powers to both of our north, creating some ripple effects down in this part of the world, or if there's a problem with unregulated population flows, as can cause real pressure in a number of different parts of the world. It might be problems about piracy, terrorism, narcotics, other non-military threats to security of this kind. What it means is we will then consult together to see what it might be sensible and appropriate for us to do, either collectively or individually. It doesn't mean that we're committed to come rushing to each other's aid with action, let alone military action, but it does mean that we're committed to evaluating the security situation, talking about it, talking together as to whether or not some action is appropriate, collectively or jointly. And that means a big step forward, I think, in our relationship. Partly, of course, it does cover ground that has become very familiar to us, but to formalise it in this way is, as President Suharto said today to us in our meeting, a milestone. It's a new milestone in Australia-Indonesia relations, and it does add an important new cooperative dimension, I think, a solid new dimension to the security of this whole region.
And Prime Minister Paul Keating has already said that it will be an historic moment, the signing of the agreement. And he said that this would lead to a better future for Australia. Could you elaborate?
Well, it certainly felt like an historic moment today when I was sitting there at this occasion, a very grand and significant occasion, I think. And what it does is really turn the wheel full circle back to where we began our relationship in the 1940s, because Australia, you may remember, was one of the new fledgling independent Indonesia's strongest supporters in the fight against for independence against the Dutch, 45-7, right through that period. We lost our way a little bit in subsequent years. We've had a few bumps in the relationship, but what this does is add another really major new pillar to the relationship and demonstrate that we really do have a relationship of the utmost trust between us and the utmost cooperation in this field as in so many others.
Okay. Mr. Alatas, would this be a contradictory to our non-aligned policy?
Not at all, because our non-aligned policy is fully intact. In fact, one of the principal features of our policy is that we do recognize each other's sovereignty, we do recognize each other's territorial integrity, and above all, we do respect each other's different social and political and economic systems. Yet, we are committed to peaceful coexistence and cooperation. This is precisely what we are trying to do between two countries which decidedly have perhaps different foreign policy philosophies, but have shown that we have common interests, common purposes, and have shown that over the years we have been able to cooperate very well in many areas. And as my colleague and friend said, now we have an added dimension to that relationship, a very important added dimension to that relationship. It does not in any way infringe on either the foreign policy principles of Indonesia or the foreign policy principles of Australia.
What do you think is the most important article in the agreement that would be benefiting for both countries?
Well, it's a short agreement. In fact, it has 3 substantive articles, and all 3 are quite important, I think. Consultation, cooperation, and consultation when adverse challenges arise. And I would like to stress once again, of course, what we mean by adverse challenges are external challenges to the common security environment that we share in this part of the world. And I think in that respect there should be no misunderstanding whatsoever as to the general purpose of that agreement.
And one question to you, Mr. Gareth Evans. Now that Indonesia has appointed its new ambassador, Mr. Widyono Sastrohandoyo, now according to you, is everything okay?
Yeah, we're delighted with the appointment. Pak Wier is a first-class professional diplomat who's very used to having to deal with media which can get a little excited on some issues from time to time. He's a professional, and I think he'll do a brilliant job. I know him very well because we worked together, as I did with Pak Ali, on the Cambodia issue in particular, over a space of 2, 3, 4 years. And we know each other. He knows Australia very well. And I think we weren't really ever very much off course. Everybody got very excited, but it's very important to realise that the basic strength and maturity and depth and character of this relationship is really very strong these days. And now I think we've got that little problem behind us. The future really will be very, very good indeed.
And people are going to take this opportunity to ask you personally about East Timor. How would you answer that regarding to this agreement?
Well, this agreement has no immediate impact on the East Timor situation. As Pak Ali has said, it's all about external situations, concerns in relation to our security that come from external sources. There's no question of any issue arising out of East Timor itself requiring consultation, let alone action, under the terms of this particular agreement. Of course, we'll still continue to talk about East Timor because it is a difficult problem for both countries to handle. But we have a good dialogue on the subject, which we've continued again today, as so often, and I'm very hopeful that sooner rather than later we will get a spirit and a sense of reconciliation at work there, which will take it off the front pages once and for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Gareth Evans. Thank you, Minister Ali Alatas. And that was our exclusive interview with the two ministers, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Australia and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, regarding the recent signing of the agreement on maintaining security. Thank you.